Welcome, welcome, one and all, to another episode of Gridiron Lines. This is your host, Gary McKenzie, here on a little channel of mine on RGR Football Network, the best Chiefs YouTube content in the history of humanity. Not necessarily talking about my content, I'm talking about Ryan, Dan, and Seth. They all do great work. I just play my little role. And my little role today is to talk about the sticky situation the Chiefs have at the wide receiver position. Thanks to one Rashee Rice being incapable of not appearing in the news for doing something unsavory. So, if you all have missed it, or you've been living in a cave, Rashee Rice showed up in news headlines again for hitting a photographer. The details are still not out, and we don't know if hitting this photographer entails full-on bald fist punching this person in the face, or if it means swatting a camera out of his face, and anything in between. So we don't know the details of what happened necessarily. Those are still coming out. Maybe by the time this video comes out, there will be some more information. But as of now, no idea what hitting means in this circumstance. But this is the last thing the Chiefs needed. And if I'm the front office for the Chiefs, after seeing both the street racing accident and this other altercation where Rashee Rice was out in a nightclub well after midnight, I'm thinking, hey, I don't know if this guy's going to be on the roster in 2024. I don't know if this guy's going to be able to play in 2024. He might be suspended the whole season. So because of that, the Chiefs are now in a sticky situation where maybe they need to bring in another wide receiver, where otherwise they could have stayed pat after the draft. But before we go into that any further, I want to just stop and say, hey, if you're new here, thanks for showing up. If this is one of the first videos of mine you've ever seen, thanks for stopping by. If you could, hit that like button down there. We'd really appreciate it. And then we're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. So we're gradually making our progress there. We're getting closer and closer by the day. If you could, hit the subscribe button. We would really appreciate it. And then also, you'll appreciate it too, because you'll get some of the best Chiefs content on YouTube from Ryan, Dan, Seth, and myself. So make sure you hit the subscribe if you can, if you want to get more content like this. But what the heck is Rashee Rice doing? I mean, seriously, out in a nightclub after midnight, after your accident, street racing accident, you have a current legal battle going on. The optics are bad. I mean, the optics are terrible. So right now, the Chiefs don't know what's going to happen for Rashee Rice in terms of suspension, but a smart front office would hedge their bets and prepare accordingly. And as far as Rashee Rice, the person, goes, I necessarily wasn't the most well-behaved person in my 20s. I got in trouble. And perhaps one of the best things that ever happened to me was that I had to face the consequences of my actions. And I had to face the consequences of my decisions. And I wish that Rashee Rice will face the consequences of his actions, of his decisions. He will be punished, and he will learn from it. So oftentimes, whenever you're a fan of a team and a player you like that the team needs to perform well does something terrible, gets in trouble, you could be torn. You want to see this player on your team succeed, but you also want them to face the consequences. I'm not torn on this issue. I want Rashee Rice to face the consequences of his actions, and I want him to learn from them. And whether that's a short jail stint, whether that's being suspended half the season or the entire season, whether that's being suspended without pay, whatever's going to get the message across to this player and this person, I want it to be delivered. And I don't think the Chiefs are going to cut him at this point in time, but the leash is as short as it's ever been. One more altercation, one more story, he might be gone. So that's where Rashee Rice currently stands with the Chiefs, and it's so sad because this player has all the upside you could ask for in a wide receiver in this Chiefs offense. So only time will tell. The story and the news will come out about whether or not, or whether this act of hitting this cameraman was malicious or it was just swatting a camera out of his face. We don't know. But right now, the Chiefs front office is going to be looking for a wide receiver for the 2024 season and maybe beyond. So I went through all the free agent wide receivers that are still available, and then I checked some first-round wide receivers on other teams because Brett Veach likes to kind of lay in wait, and then maybe a team has a change in coaching staff, or maybe there's a first-round talent that didn't necessarily produce. And then Brett Veach goes and trades a third-round pick or fourth-round pick for that player and tries to get a super talented player and put them in a new system and maybe see if it works out. So I went through players for both these situations, free agency and then former first-round picks. And I want to start at free agency. So the Chiefs are most likely looking for a player that has a strong stature, 6 foot tall or over, 200 pounds-ish, because that's around what Rashee Rice is. And they have two smaller guys, Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy, who can really stretch the field, have a ton of speed, stretch the field both vertically and horizontally. And they need guys that can tear it up underneath, shorter routes, intermediate routes. And Rashee Rice is the perfect receiver to do that for the Chiefs, but I think he's going to miss at least 6 games, most likely 8 or more. And right now, that's too much time. That's too much time for a player to be gone. The Chiefs need to bring in somebody. So the number one free agent wide receiver on the market is Hunter Renfrow. At one point in time, I thought he was going to sign with the Bills, but Spotrac still had him as available, and his previous contract value was about $16 million per year. Who knows what it is now? As far as Hunter Renfrow goes, I always liked him, even though he was a Raider. I liked his game. I think that he is good in the slot and some of the shorter intermediate stuff, but he's not the big-bodied receiver that you would want to be going over the middle, working the underneath stuff. I think he's another smaller wide receiver. So do the Chiefs want to add a third smaller wide receiver that's going to be getting majority of their work from Patrick Mahomes this year? I'm not so sure. And then on top of that, his previous contract was around $16 million per year. And right now, according to Over the Cap, the Chiefs have right at $16 million heading into 2024. And that's with all of their rookies on the rookie minimum deals. I think that number is going to change whenever the rookies start signing their 4- and 5-year contracts, their rookie deals. So the second free agent, the second highest rated available free agent is Allen Robinson. And Allen Robinson is a player that I've liked for a long time. His previous value of contract was about $15.5 million. I think since he's going to be turning 31 years old in the 2024 season, I think the Chiefs could get him for cheaper than that. He's also a bigger body wide receiver. Now, he's on the wrong side of 30, but in terms of what's available, I would not be hurt at all if the Chiefs decided to sign Allen Robinson to a 1-year deal. Same could be said for the next wide receiver who's available, Michael Thomas. So we all know Michael Thomas as being the slant god for the Saints, where everyone was accusing him having a monster season because all he did was catch slants. Well, if that's all you're doing and you get, 1,600 yards doing it or 1,500 plus yards doing it, why didn't the other team stop you from doing it? But after the really good start to his career, he kind of flamed out. And now he's 31 years old. And his contract value last season was around $10 million. So it's another big-bodied wide receiver the Chiefs might be interested in. Then you have Zay Jones. He was the 7th-ranked wide receiver in terms of what's available. And I would be curious in taking a flyer on Zay Jones. He's not my first pick. Out of these free agent wide receivers, I think that Allen Robinson is my first pick, just because he has had those 1,000-yard seasons. He's had several 1,000-yard seasons in his career, and then he just seems to fall off the map. But I would like the chance of Andy Reid getting the most out of a player. So even though he's over 30, I think that if they can work out the contract, Allen Robinson's a guy that I would be interested in seeing on a 1-year deal in Kansas City. Zay Jones, I'm less interested in, but his previous contract value was $8 million per year, so he's a lot cheaper. But those are the top 4 or 5 wide receivers that are available. Marquez Valdez-Scantling was the number 6 wide receiver available, but I don't think Kansas City's interested in bringing him back, especially after cutting him. So that's what's available in free agency. In terms of former first-rounders, 2021 first-round picks, the Chiefs already have one on their roster, and that's Kadarius Toney. Extremely talented player. Has all the talent in the world that you could ask for, but has had a problem putting it all together on the field. However, I would add that maybe Toney's the guy that comes in and fills that underneath role for the Chiefs while Rashee Rice is suspended. Maybe he is that guy. And I don't think the Chiefs are going to want to give up on him quite yet. So I like that the Chiefs already have a player on their roster that's pretty talented, very talented, and could potentially fill this role for the Chiefs. So they might stand pat and do nothing. I think that if they do nothing, it means they have faith in Toney being able to do something. Another 2021 first-round pick. I don't think this team is going to be willing to trade this player to the Chiefs, but you have Rashad Bateman from the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think they're going to be interested in trading with the Chiefs after what happened in last year's AFC Championship game. But he's 6'1", 195 pounds, good size. 2021, he played 12 games, 515 yards receiving. 2022, he played 6 games, 285 yards receiving. 2023, he played 16 games, 367 yards receiving. So very underwhelming for a first-round wide receiver. And maybe the Ravens are willing to part ways with this player. But I just can't see the Chiefs and Ravens working out a trade at a position of need for the Chiefs when they're in a bit of a bind. So I don't think that Rashad Bateman is going to be a Chief next year. 2022 first-round draft picks, there's 2 that are kind of interesting. One is Jahan Dotson with the Washington Commanders. In 2022, he had 523 yards receiving. In 2023, he had 518 yards receiving. And played a total of 12 games in 2022, 17 games in 2023, so not often injured. And he's 5'11", 182. So that's another smaller guy. And I don't want the Chiefs to pick up another smaller guy. I think they've got enough small guys at the wide receiver position to begin with. I want them to pick up a bigger bodied guy. And that leads us to Treylon Burks, 2022 first-round draft pick. Remember the Titans traded A.J. Brown to take Treylon Burks, which had a lot of people scratching their heads, but he's 6'2", 225. In 2022, he played 11 games, had 440 yards receiving, and then 2023 played 11 games again and had 221 yards receiving. This is a player that I'm interested in for the Chiefs. If they can somehow trade somebody or trade a draft pick and pick up Treylon Burks, I would be pretty excited about that. But I think a lot of what the Chiefs' moves boil down to is Rashee Rice going to be a Chief long term? Do they see something in him that says, okay, this player can learn from their mistakes, can turn it around? And Andy Reid even said as much. He said it depends on how well they can learn it from their mistakes, on whether or not they'll have a bright future in Kansas City. After the altercation, the situation with the photographer, it's not looking good. So if the Chiefs want to have a long-term fix for Rashee Rice, then I think that Treylon Burks would be a guy that they would try to target and trade for. So the Chiefs are in quite a situation, and I know that Brett Veach and the rest of the Chiefs front office is working overtime trying to find some replacement for Rashee Rice, because as of now, it looks like he's going to be suspended for about half the season, if not more, depending on this situation with this photographer. So you hate to see the Chiefs in this position, but all you can do in life is adjust and adapt whenever change comes your way and embrace it. And right now, they're embracing the fact that they have to find another wide receiver on this roster. And we talked about a list. But the two guys that I want to see would be either Allen Robinson in free agency or Treylon Burks for a trade. Now's the time for you all to let me know down in the comments what you want the Chiefs to do. Do you want to see the Chiefs go after a wide receiver in free agency? Do you want to see them try to make a trade for another wide receiver? Or do you think, hey, Kadarius Toney's on the roster. This is his chance. This is his last shot. Let's give it to him and then ride out this suspension. And then do you want to see Rashee Rice play a snap for the Chiefs in 2024? Or do you think that he should be suspended all year? Let me know down in the comments. Very interesting conversation today. But this is the end of the video. It's been great chatting with you all. I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking around to the end of this video. Got nothing but love and appreciation for you. More things will become clear with this Rashee Rice situation as time goes on. Right now, it ain't looking pretty. But this is Gary signing out. Y'all have a good rest of your week and have a good weekend.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.